Now, in this video, as the title suggests, I'm going to be going over the current state of Halo Infinite right before the highly anticipated Season 5 drops on October 17th. In general, I'm going to be talking about stuff like bugs, user interface, customization, multiplayer, single player, and everything in between. I've separated everything neatly within its own categories down in the timeline to help skip to what you're most interested in. A TLDR for the video. The game feels solid in terms of consistency, and the plethora of options ranging from matchmaking playlists to customization for Spartan really help player retention. However, there are some real issues that will turn away new and returning players, but some of those should hopefully be addressed with the new season and future patches. Now, for those wondering, should you download it now or wait? At least until Season 5 drops, unless you really wanted to start making a map, play with some friends, custom games, or have it already downloaded and someone ready to go once the new season launches. I don't see any reason to go out of your way to play it right now. However, if you did just download it and decide to play it, you're still going to enjoy it, and you're going to have fun, and it's still a solid experience overall. We'll start off with the negatives and finish off with the positives, starting off with bugs. Now, the first bugs that come to mind are weapon bugs, desync, or random crashes. Sadly, the dreaded blank shots and dead melee hits are still commonplace. Luckily, it's better than previous seasons, but you will eventually see it or have it happen to you, and it's a real vibe killer, especially during ranked games. A kind of funny one, bots can sometimes start killing their enemies during the intro cinematic, which gives me a bit of an ick feeling after I finish laughing. And the last one that I can personally attest to is that the customization menu still feels like it tanks my FPS when browsing sometimes. That's not to say that there aren't any more egregious bugs like people crashing for no reason, but for me personally, it hasn't happened too often, or at all. Now, this next point is subjectively more of an opinion on how I feel about pricing of items and how they are bundled. When it comes to how Halo Infinite chose to monetize, it can be separated into two distinct sections, the Battle Pass and the store. The Battle Pass for Halo Infinite can be seen as a step forward compared to all of the other Battle Passes that are being offered, and that's mainly because they never expire when you buy the previous Battle Pass for Halo Infinite. Each Battle Pass so far has cost $10 US, 1,000 credits, and have given you back 1,000 credits by the time you've completed it, except for the Season 1 Battle Pass. Sadly, all of the Battle Passes before Season 5 are for the blow and repeated items, i.e. the same coding unlocked at multiple different levels for every single core, or challenge swaps, and whatnot. And now, onto the second section, and probably the most controversial, the store. I'm going to start off by laying a baseline for what I believe things should be worth based on the products and experiences that have been sold by 343. I wholeheartedly feel that almost all the cosmetics are overpriced when you compare what is offered and how they can impact your overall experience. For instance, for $60 you get a whole campaign that is beautifully done and you can enjoy with friends and special multiplayer unlocks for almost every single customizable item. Now, let's head on over to the store and look at those prices. Now, I'm not saying that 343 Industries should be condemned for the inconsistent message they sent by pricing things like this, especially since pretty much every other free-to-play game overprices their cosmetics too. Should it be done? Morally, no. But money keeps the lights on. Moving on to our third point, the UI or user interface. Is it good, bad, or just alright? Imagining as if there were no bugs, the current UI would be considered okay. If you played Halo 4 or Halo 5, then you know the biggest drawback to 343 Industries' method of making UI relies a lot on horizontal selection menus, also known as big clunky boxes that fill up the screen. Luckily, it's not for everything, like the settings menu or the matchmaking menu. The main menu UI is pretty straightforward, but the way you navigate, with the tabs on top, going from left to right, can get pretty confusing and sometimes discourages you from multitasking. Similarly to what I've stated before, the custom game browser is an amazing idea, but I feel like the current blocky windows all stacked up next to each other in a single window, with the only information available is the game type, the map picture, unless you select it, is holding back how many lobbies can be displayed and sorted in a visually pleasing manner. I believe some step forward could be switching to a custom game browser like the MCC currently has, and giving the community the option to host our own dedicated servers will exponentially help with player numbers. And now going on to customization UI. Luckily, there's a numerous amount of cosmetics and things that can be customized, but oh lord, this menu always makes me question reality whenever I want to change something, but then you remember that MCC fixed these problems prior to Halo Infinite releasing. With the ever-increasing options of customizing our Spartans, this menu keeps getting longer and longer, nearing the level of absurdity that Halo 5 achieves, but technically worse. Let's look at the visor menu as of now, and how long it takes to go from one end to the other. I decided to separate the store UI point from the store monetization point, because I'm not bashing it for taking my money, but for making me wish there was a better store. As the store UI currently stands, it's basic, bare bones, and doesn't show you all that you can actually purchase. If I remember correctly, before Season 4, 343 introduced an option to buy cosmetics not offered in the store from the customization menu. Which is great, but if they added a sort of catalog for the store, it would make it feel more of a complete package. Now, a quick rundown of the Match UI. The biggest thing that pops into my head will be the noticeable lack of the pre-game post-game lobby for matchmaking, even though it kind of exists for custom games. When in-game, you couldn't see what map you were playing. I'm not entirely sure if this was already changed or not. During a match, the menu or scoreboard that lets you mute or report people is hidden behind the main scoreboard. I'm not sure what Monster thought of this, or forgot to put any form of indication that was behind there. It sucks. Now, moving on from UI, customization. Now, when talking about Halo Infinite customization, a couple of buzzwords that are generally thrown around with it are cross-core and coatings. The full impact of what is and what could have been can only really be put into context when you take the customization options for all of the other Halo games, put them together, and compare them with Halo Infinite. I'm sure there are videos out there of people explaining this in significant depth, but let's go through a quick recap. Before Halo Infinite, the core system did not exist, which meant that all available armor pieces could have been mixed and matched to your heart's content. Each game until Halo 5 has almost had the same type of player customization: head, chest, legs, visors, etc. Alongside that, each Halo game has had almost the same type of player color customization that, while it was basic, allowed the player to have some sort of unique color combinations. Now, with Halo Infinite, they introduced the core system, with the intent of allowing players to have more authentic looking Spartans depending on which era or core they chose. This system has inadvertently, or maybe as intended, decreased the total amount of unique armor combinations, which in turn has left a couple of cores feeling lacking and almost like an afterthought. This was compounded upon with the coating system, which is basically a full body skin applied to your Spartan that can have major differences from each other, such as textures and color combinations. This system fully replaced the two color system from the previous Halos. And this is probably where the most egregious examples of monetization and greed really shine, alongside the limitations placed due to the fact that some cores were not compatible with some coatings. Luckily, as it currently stands, each core has been given some basic colors: red, green, blue, and a cadet variant. Now comes the second buzzword, cross-core, which, based on what I've said before, should be pretty straightforward. Essentially, bypassing the limits of being tied to a single core, customization items that are cross-core can be used in every single core. So far since launch, only visors are cross-core, but it has been confirmed that with the launch of Season 5, all helmets will be cross-core as well. I don't want to forget to mention that vehicles and weapons also have coatings and even little attachments. It's a net positive considering no Halo game has made these customizable from the get-go. MCC has it too now, but it wasn't like that at first. And now one of the major pillars of Halo Infinite, and Halo in general, custom games. A staple of Halo games since Halo's launch, one of the greatest driving forces for fun and lighthearted gameplay, especially when the only other option would be matchmaking, which is notoriously known for being extremely competitive and not having the fairest matchups in Halo Infinite, or campaign, but that's not exactly free. Now, right off the bat, when you first click Create Match, you're met with a screen that is not nearly mentioned enough: the pre-game lobby. I could imagine a couple of reasons why it's not included in matchmaking. Sometimes you can find a match within 5 seconds, or you're done with the match, you go right back to playlist screen, and without fire teams and lobbies are treated as the same thing in custom games, some systems can conflict with each other, and that would require a major overhaul just in itself, and sometimes you wouldn't even see the lobby screen, rendering it redundant. Now, back to the regularly scheduled program, the custom games pre-game lobby and its options to customize your games. Long story short, they're pretty extensive, giving you a plethora of options that, while daunting at first, are actually extremely well organized and mostly visually pleasing. For some reason, the mode selection screen and map selection screen both use the clunky, blocky square grid that, with time, just keeps getting more and more clustered, making it harder to find what you want as time goes on. But besides that, it's definitely a high point of the game. Although, some main questions to think about: does it run good? Is it consistent now, where there are no more bugs, and you won't randomly crash or stay in limbo when joining games? And is the custom game browser suffering from the same things? From the extensive 5 matches that I played, they worked 5 out of 5 times, with no hiccups to mess the simple but beautiful flow up click and play. Is that to say that there are no bugs in custom games anymore? No, not at all. Just look at the patch notes and you see some consistent bugs that have lasted throughout. I'm going to start talking about matchmaking, but purely in the light of what kind of experiences you could expect right before Season 5 drops. 343 have really stepped it up for Season 4, with not only the variety of playlists they offer players, which will suit most if not all types of players, but also with the sheer amount of maps they have added. That, while many are forged creations, either developer made or community created, are still of high enough quality that they've brought massive praise from the overall community with their inclusion. And yes, I'm clearly hyping up squad battles. That was a great choice and easy win for 343. Now, to address the elephant in the room, that is so massive and a huge factor in why I believe player numbers for Halo Infinite are stagnant and below what anyone wants to imagine, and an even greater problem than desync. And that is the skill-based matchmaking, or SBMM for short, and how it inadvertently punishes its remaining players and how it connects different skill ranges depending on the population of the game. As of right now, for a regular 4-person fire team, the general outcome would be 1 or 2 good players, and the rest of the team not being able to get more than 2 kills. And I really want to iterate how much this is not a fun situation, made especially infuriating when it happens for a couple hours non-stop until almost every single playlist except ranked. Thank the flying spaghetti monster. I don't know the lingo or the mechanical intricacies that go into these systems, but with a couple of hundreds of hours that I have in matchmaking alone, I can confidently say that 7 out of 10 matches you play, this will happen. And it's not the player's fault at all. Like, for example, I'm not the greatest player ever, I'm only ever diamond and ranked, and sure, I may be sweaty, but when I play back-to-back matches where I alone get half the kills when I'm actively not sprinting, strafing, or clambering, then there's gotta be something going on. I don't expect to be paired with similarly skilled players in a casual match, but I don't think I should be paired with players that seemingly just learned how to walk in-game. If it's not fun for me, the try-hard 20-year-old Halo player, then it's definitely not fun at all for little old Tommy playing on his first console, or Kate, the returning player that gave up a year ago because it was too try-hard and they couldn't get the feel of the game in a comfortable environment. With all that in mind, when things click, and you get good opponents, and you have good teammates, or when you play casual matches that actually seem casual, everything feels great and runs smoothly, you can truly see the beauty that is the Halo gameplay loop and addictive action. Now veering off a little, let's talk about ranked. As of now, and my personal experience in Ranked Arena, with the changes made in Season 4 regarding match strictness and what is searched for, I will now consistently match with similarly ranked teammates. For example, everyone in the match will be Diamond, not higher or lower, and it feels amazing knowing what to expect in terms of player skill. Can friends with different ranks search together? Yep, but they have to be within a certain range of each other, and generally most Onyx players will be excluded from that. In terms of fair matches, Ranked Arena is the poster boy for the game. Sadly, that's also not to say it doesn't have its occasional glitch, like starting a match missing a player, or still being plagued by the all-around mood killer and overall bad time, desync, every now and then. Although, while comparing it to other competitive matchmaking games, it's definitely missing some quality of life options, like voting to surrender, everyone in the ranked lobby having to confirm ready to start the match, easier ways to mute a player or report a player, or proper in-game play reporting. It is still an extremely fun experience, especially if you can communicate with your teammates. Holy hell, this one's wild. I know I've already said the words massive, extensive, numerous, expansive, intricate, and plethora, a plethora of times, in an intricate and expansive manner that gave a massive boost in how numerous and extensive my vocabulary seemed to be perceived. That is exactly how I feel about Forge, and what's currently possible with it. Just like how I rearranged those words and made them sound pretty extremely easily, so can you with Forge, and all the indescribable amount of options available. Sadly, I'm not much of a forger or coder, but the things people have done and keep doing with Forge is impressive. As you can see from this bit of footage in the background, I'm making a remake of the Halo 2 Vista map, District, just because I can, and while it took me a second to get used to using keyboard and mouse, I've heard it's a bit more intuitive with a controller. The difficulty curve really comes in with how daunting the sheer number of varying options there are, and getting used to how to navigate with and get what you want without feeling lost. Now, if you have a spark to create something, I'd recommend you jump into Forge and give it a shot, whatever it may be. With the built-in file browser and dedicated sections for maps, playlist, prefabs, and developer-selected content, the ease of accessing custom content on a daily basis or getting your creations to your friends or even published by 343 have never been easier. Sure, the UI is a blocky, clunky mess, but a win's a win, right? And sure, there are still bugs like the undo button not fully working randomly, and sometimes the game may crash for a variety of reasons thanks to how complex Forge is. But don't let that stop you from experiencing this amazing creation of a program, and make sure to save your map often. Oh, and I should mention, for Season 5 it was announced that campaign AI will be added into Forge. People can essentially start making their own firefight maps when it drops. Now the next subject, theater. Not the most used due to its reputation and wonky feeling controls. In its current state, and depending on your ping in that match, the accuracy of the camera and player placement may not be an exact replica of what happened in real time. However, it's still a great tool to take pictures with, or to learn how your enemies might be playing, or how to improve your own gameplay. On a side note, I wish they would make it easier to record a clip instead of having to use a third-party solution, and have it how they can be shared like in Halo 3. And now, quick run through campaign. As of this moment, the campaign is a fun experience with a couple of things to do in the open world that help fill in the story gaps, and can be considered a giant sandbox for you and 3 online friends to go crazy in. The biggest drawbacks would be no split screen campaign or at all if you're on PC, and no real big updates to the campaign since the introduction of online co-op besides small patches. In general, this is a separate, paid package with a pretty average length, but with a beautifully done campaign, and visuals, music, voice acting, and even storytelling and pacing. I definitely recommend a playthrough, especially if you have Game Pass on PC or Xbox. Alrighty, finally reaching the end, the overall final statements. There are deep-rooted fallacies entrenched into the very core of this game that can be felt by every player that fully describe why Halo Infinite is in the current state in terms of player count and overall player sentiment, such as things like desync, skill-based matchmaking, lack of quality of life items, overpriced store, and some UI items not being easily found or done, like reporting players, to say the least. This is the current state of Halo Infinite, and I hope with my breakdown, I showed the good, bad, and ugly that is Halo Infinite as of October 2023, right before the launch of the much anticipated Season 5. I've made this video as a form of a timestamp, so in the future we can gauge how far Halo Infinite has come, and how the current studio heads at 343 have managed this talented company. Hell, I'm going to use it next week to compare how it feels once the Season 5 drops, so if you're still here, I truly appreciate it. And if I missed anything pre-Season 5, let me know in the comments, or write down what you're most looking forward to, and maybe I'll make a video about it. With that, I'll leave all of you and hope you all stay great. Peace out.